too dangerous to release. Subscribe now, because once we open this file, the truth will claw the edges of your mind, and you won't be able to look away. The concrete corridor smelled of sweat and bleach, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry bees above Officer Ramirez's head. A sharp metallic clang echoed down the hall as a heavy steel door swung open. Inside, the room was empty except for a single overturned chair and a trail of muddy footprints that led toward the shadows. Ramirez's heart pounded. Something was wrong. Across town, Detective Elaine Carter's phone vibrated relentlessly. A tip had come through that couldn't be ignored. "They're moving again," the voice whispered, distorted by static. Her car engine roared to life as she sped through the rain-soaked streets, tires squealing against wet asphalt. Each turn she took brought her closer to a place she had hoped never to see again. Meanwhile, in a dimly lit apartment 2 blocks from the river, Marcus Hale sat in the center of the room, the hum of an old refrigerator vibrating against his chest. His hands shook as he stared at the floor. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. He knew the law would catch up, but he didn't expect them so soon. Something inside him snapped, a decision formed in the quiet panic of a man who knew he had no choice left. Ramirez followed the muddy trail into a storage room stacked with crates. He crouched low, flashlight cutting a thin line of clarity through the darkness. Each crate was marked with symbols he had never seen before, a pattern that seemed to pulse with menace in the dim light. He reached the last crate and bent down to peer inside. The faint whimper made him freeze. Something was alive in there, breathing shallowly, terrified, or hiding. Back on the streets, Carter tracked Hale's movements through a network of informants and security cameras. Every step he took seemed calculated, every glance over his shoulder deliberate. She knew he was no ordinary criminal. Hale had a reputation that sent shivers down even seasoned officers' spines. Years of careful planning had turned him into a ghost, a shadow that always slipped through their fingers. Yet tonight, for reasons he could not yet understand, he was leaving traces behind. In the apartment, Hale's mind raced. Every sound, the drip of water from a leaky pipe, the distant bark of a dog, the low rumble of a delivery truck, felt amplified. He knew they were coming, and he had prepared for this. On the kitchen counter lay a series of sealed envelopes, each containing fragments of a larger truth. He hesitated, hand hovering over the nearest envelope, knowing that opening it could change everything, not just for him, but for anyone who stumbled into the chaos he had unleashed. Ramirez's flashlight flicked over a stack of crates and froze on a small, blood-stained notebook. Its cover was torn, pages splayed open as if someone had fled in a hurry. He flipped it over, and the words inside made him pause. Coordinates, dates, and cryptic instructions that hinted at a web of activity far larger than a single criminal mind. The room was no longer just a storage space. It was a hub, a secret node in a network that threatened to unravel the city's sense of safety. Meanwhile, Carter parked across the street from Hale's last known location. Rain streaked her windshield as she dialed a number she hadn't used in years. "I need eyes on him. All of them," she said, her voice taut with urgency. Every instinct screamed that Hale was about to do something unprecedented, and if they weren't ready, the consequences could be catastrophic. Hale slipped into the shadows, moving silently between alleyways and abandoned buildings. His eyes were constantly scanning, calculating. He passed a group of teenagers huddled under a graffiti-stained awning. One of them looked up, locking eyes with him. For a second, the world held its breath. Then he was gone, swallowed by the city, leaving only the faintest trace of his presence. Back in the storage room, Ramirez noticed a draft coming from a wall panel. He pushed against it, and the metal creaked, revealing a hidden passageway. The smell hit him first, damp earth, decay, and something else, something metallic and sharp. He knew instinctively that whatever lay beyond this wall was connected to Hale, and likely more dangerous than anything he had encountered in his years on the force. Carter, meanwhile, had traced a pattern on a digital map, connecting locations of Hale's last known sightings. The lines intersected near the old industrial district, an area long abandoned except for those who didn't want to be found. The deeper she dug, the more she realized this wasn't just a single criminal operation. It was a living, breathing network, and Hale was only the tip of the iceberg. Inside the passageway, Ramirez's flashlight flickered, revealing a staircase leading downward. The air grew colder, heavier, as he descended. Faint scrolls on the walls whispered secrets of past operations, past escapes, past lives erased. Every step pulled him deeper into the unknown, and he could feel his pulse in his ears. Something waited at the bottom. Something that would make him question everything he thought he knew about the city, the law, and the people he swore to protect. Hale, in the meantime, had reached a warehouse on the outskirts. The doors were locked, but a side panel hung loose. Inside, stacks of crates matched those Ramirez had found, but these were larger, more organized, marked with codes that hinted at international connections. Hale's hand lingered on a crate labeled with his own initials, a silent reminder of how far this had gone. Every move he made had consequences, and yet he pressed forward, knowing the risks, knowing that once the first domino fell, nothing would be the same. Carter arrived at the industrial district, the rain soaking her coat. She ducked behind a stack of pallets, watching the shadows move with deliberate precision. Someone was inside the warehouses. Someone was controlling the flow. And at the center of it all, she knew, was Hale. But she also knew there were others, people more dangerous, more ruthless, who would do anything to keep these secrets hidden. Ramirez reached the bottom of the staircase and froze. The passage opened into a vast underground chamber. Dim lights flickered overhead, revealing walls lined with surveillance monitors, some showing live feeds of streets he knew, some showing locations he didn't. And in the center of the room, a single figure crouched over a table covered in maps and papers. The figure looked up slowly, and Ramirez realized with a chill that this wasn't Hale. This was someone else, someone far more dangerous. And then Ramirez noticed it, a small, unmarked door at the far end of the chamber. It was slightly ajar, and a faint light pulsed from within. The sound of soft, deliberate breathing echoed through the room. Ramirez's hand went to his holster, but he knew whatever was behind that door wasn't going to be captured easily. He took a step forward, heart hammering, and then a shadow slipped through the crack of the door, disappearing into the darkness. The room went silent. The monitors flickered. The air felt heavier, charged with anticipation. And then, on the table where the papers had been, one envelope remained. It was addressed to Ramirez, in handwriting he did not recognize. He picked it up with trembling fingers and opened it. Inside was a single photograph. It showed someone he thought was long gone, someone whose existence had been erased from every record. But there they were, smiling, watching, and waiting. And just like that, Ramirez realized the danger wasn't just external. It was personal. The game had just begun. Don't click away, because what happens next will make you question everything you thought was safe in this city. Every secret exposed tonight is a warning. Pay attention or you'll miss the truth hiding in plain sight. Detective Elaine Carter crouched behind a stack of rusted shipping containers, eyes locked on the warehouse entrance. Rain's slick streets reflected the flashing lights of patrol cars, but she felt isolated, almost hunted. Her gut told her Hale wasn't alone. The movement inside the building was methodical, precise, almost like a military operation. She could see shadows coordinating, communicating silently, a network operating in darkness while the city above slept. Inside the warehouse, Marcus Hale's eyes darted between crates and monitors. He had a plan, a code that no one else fully understood. The monitors displayed feeds from cameras Ramirez had yet to find, showing every entrance, every alley. Hale's hands trembled as he typed furiously on a small, battered laptop. The sound of rain outside masked a different storm, a network of operatives converging, moving to intercept anyone who got too close. Officer Ramirez descended the stairs into the underground chamber, every step echoing off the concrete. The envelope he had found was still clutched in his hand, photograph pressed against his chest. He couldn't bring himself to look at it again. His instinct screamed danger. And then he saw it, a shadow slipping along the far wall, far faster than any ordinary person could move. Ramirez raised his flashlight and gun, but the figure had vanished, leaving nothing but a faint smell of cigarette smoke and wet stone. Carter moved closer to the warehouse, each step deliberate. She crouched behind a delivery truck as she scanned the perimeter. A sound made her freeze, the click of a lock being picked, smooth and silent. The side door creaked open, and Hale slipped out into the darkness. Carter's heart raced. He wasn't just running. He was leading them somewhere. But somewhere was a trap. Her instincts told her that. Inside the underground chamber, Ramirez's eyes adjusted to the dim light. The figure at the table had left, but the papers remained. Maps marked with pins and strings crisscrossed the surface, connecting locations Ramirez didn't recognize. But one detail made him pause, a single name repeated over and over, circled in red ink. The name was familiar, too familiar, and suddenly, the realization hit him. Someone he had trusted, someone from the department, was involved. A traitor. Hale moved quickly through narrow alleyways, the rain soaking his coat, his boots slapping against puddles. Every step was calculated, measured, but every step brought him closer to an impossible truth. Someone was following him. A presence, unseen but undeniable, shadowed his every move. He ducked into a stairwell, pressed against the wall, and waited. For the first time, a flicker of fear crossed his face. He wasn't invincible, and tonight that fact might cost him everything. Carter intercepted a lead from an informant, a man known only as Graves, rumored to run operations behind the city's criminal underbelly, had been seen entering the warehouse district hours ago. Carter felt a chill. Graves had been a ghost for years, a name whispered only in fear. If Hale and Graves were connected, the city's criminal map had just been redrawn, and not in their favor. Inside the warehouse, Hale found a safe hidden behind a stack of crates. He knelt, examining the combination lock. His fingers shook, but not from fear, from anticipation. Inside the safe lay envelopes, files, and USB drives, each one containing pieces of evidence so explosive it could topple corporations, destroy careers, and dismantle criminal hierarchies in one blow. He picked up a file labeled with Ramirez's badge number. His pulse spiked. Hale didn't know Ramirez personally, but he understood the power of leverage. And now, Ramirez had become part of the game. Ramirez traced the paths on the underground chambers map, noting the intersection points of warehouses, safe houses, and abandoned buildings. A pattern emerged, one that revealed the scope of the operation. International connections, financial transactions routed through shell corporations, and coded messages that suggested a hierarchy with Hale at the center. But the deeper he delved, the more unsettling the truth became. Someone above him, someone in a position of authority, was feeding the network. Someone manipulating events from within the very system meant to stop them. Carter, crouched behind a delivery truck, finally spotted Hale slipping into a side corridor. She made the split-second decision to follow, her breath shallow, fingers grazing the grip of her firearm. The corridor led to an abandoned building, its walls covered in graffiti and water stains. Inside, Hale paused, pulling a file from his coat pocket. Carter ducked behind a rusted pillar, eyes wide as she realized the file was a list of names, people who were targets, people who were witnesses, people who might not survive the week. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the building. Hale spun, instinct sharp, eyes scanning for the source. A crate toppled behind him, and from the shadows emerged Graves himself. Tall, imposing, moving with the confidence of a man who had never lost. Hale froze for a heartbeat, then instinctively took a step back. Graves' smile was thin, cold, and deliberate. He said nothing, but his presence alone spoke volumes. He knew Hale's every move, his every thought, and the game was no longer one-sided. Ramirez, still in the underground chamber, was piecing together the connections between Hale, Graves, and the traitor in the department. He realized that what they were facing was more than criminal. It was systemic. The walls of law enforcement were compromised. Trust was a luxury, and tonight, that luxury had already expired. Back in the abandoned building, Hale and Graves faced each other across the dimly lit space. The tension was tangible, electric. Hale's hands hovered over the files, knowing that any action could trigger a chain reaction with irreversible consequences. Graves' eyes glinted with recognition. He had anticipated Hale's plan, and now he intended to control it. There were two predators circling, calculating, each understanding the stakes. A single misstep would mean capture or death. Carter, hidden behind the pillar, realized the depth of danger. She had underestimated Graves. She had underestimated the network. But she had not underestimated Hale. Despite everything, he was predictable, driven by survival and something deeper, an obsession with protecting secrets that might destroy the city if they fell into the wrong hands. Carter drew in a breath, preparing to act, knowing that any move could ignite a deadly confrontation. Graves took a step forward, and Hale's body tensed. The files were within reach, but the moment stretched, heavy with possibility. Then, a sound, a faint click, almost imperceptible, echoed from the ceiling. Carter's eyes widened. Above them, a trapdoor creaked, swinging slowly. Something, or someone, was descending. The shadows revealed the silhouette of a figure Hale had thought was gone forever. And in that instant, everything Hale believed to be under his control shattered. The figure stepped into the dim light, and Graves froze. Hale's jaw tightened. Carter pressed herself against the pillar, heart hammering. The files slipped from Hale's hands, scattering across the floor. And then, with a soft, deliberate voice that cut through the tension like a knife, the figure spake. "You thought it was dangerous before? You have no idea." The room went silent, heavy with fear and anticipation. Every player froze, caught in a moment where one wrong breath could ignite chaos. And then Hale's eyes darted to the corner, where a small, sealed envelope had appeared, as if delivered by some unseen hand. The envelope was addressed to Graves. Hale reached for it, but Graves was faster. He tore it open, and what he saw made his expression twist into something between shock and rage. Carter saw the papers flutter to the floor. Hale's mouth opened, as if to speak, but no words came out. And then the lights in the building went out. The sound of shattering glass echoed in the darkness, and when emergency lights flickered back on, Hale, Graves, and the figure were gone. The files, the envelopes, everything they had fought for, vanished in a flash. Carter's pulse raced. Ramirez's voice came over her radio, urgent and strained. "Carter, you need to see this." She ran toward the sound. Inside the main office of the warehouse, a single object lay in the center of the floor. A map burned around the edges, with a single X marked in the middle of the city. And beneath it, in a handwriting both familiar and horrifying, the words, "The game has just begun. Hold on tight, because tonight, nothing is safe. Every secret, every lie, every move made in the shadows is about to collide. What you're about to see will change the rules of the game forever." Detective Carter sprinted through the abandoned streets, the map from the warehouse burned edges glowing faintly under her flashlight. The X marked a location deep in the industrial district, an area rumored to be haunted by crime families and lawless operators. Carter's instinct screamed that this was the heart of the network, the place where Hale, Graves, and the mysterious figure had converged. Every step felt like running into a trap, but there was no turning back. Marcus Hale emerged from the shadows near the old power plant. He moved cautiously, scanning the perimeter for anyone following him. His mind raced, calculating every risk. He had survived this long by being smarter, faster, more unpredictable than anyone who tried to corner him. But now the game had changed. Graves was no longer just a rival. He was a ghost, a master manipulator with eyes everywhere. And the figure from the warehouse, someone Hale had believed dead, was back, pulling strings he didn't even understand. Inside the power plant, the hum of machinery was deafening. Steam hissed from pipes overhead, mingling with the acrid smell of oil and rust. Carter crept closer, hearing muffled voices echoing through the cavernous space. Hale and Graves were there, but so was a figure. Shadows moved against the dim light, every footstep a heartbeat. The tension was palpable, thick enough to choke on. Hale's eyes locked on Graves. The rivalry that had simmered in darkness for months was about to boil over. Graves' grin was thin, confident, venomous. "You should have stayed in the shadows," he said, voice low, carrying over the machinery. Hale didn't respond. His hand hovered near a crate filled with the files and envelopes they had risked everything to obtain. Tonight, control meant everything, and Hale knew the wrong move could end everything. Carter peeked from behind the steel support beam, realizing that this wasn't just a standoff, it was a chess game. Hale had the information, Graves had the leverage, and the figure, the one who had disappeared and returned, had the ultimate advantage. Carter's heart pounded. She understood now why Hale had acted the way he had, why every trace he left behind had been deliberate. This wasn't a fight, it was a message. The figure stepped forward, their voice calm but cutting through the tension like a knife. "You've all been playing blind, thinking the pieces mattered. The truth is the only piece that counts." Hale's jaw tightened. Graves stiffened. Carter's pulse raced. Each word from the figure was deliberate, designed to destabilize, and it worked. Hale's carefully constructed control wavered. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the plant, red lights strobing across walls and machinery. Carter dug behind a railing as Hale and Graves reacted instantly, the fight instinct kicking in. The figure vanished into the shadows, leaving Hale and Graves exposed. In the chaos, Hale grabbed the nearest crate and used it to shield himself as Graves lunged. Metal clanged against metal. The sound was deafening. Carter took a chance. She sprinted across the plant floor, dodging debris and machinery, to get closer to Hale. She could see the fear and resolve in his eyes, a man trapped between survival and the truth. She reached him just as Graves' fist came down, and with a swift motion, Hale twisted, using Graves' momentum against him. Graves fell back into a puddle of water, the impact sending sparks from exposed wires above. The figure reappeared, moving with almost supernatural precision, though there was nothing supernatural about them. Every movement was calculated, every action deliberate. They pushed the crate aside, revealing a hidden trapdoor in the floor. Carter noticed the edges of the trapdoor were scorched, as if someone had tried to erase it before. Hale froze, recognizing the symbol engraved on it, one that matched the files he had stolen. It was a doorway to the network's core, the central hub of operations no one was supposed to find. Graves scrambled to his feet, fury twisting his features. "You don't understand. You think you control it, but you're just a part of the system now." Hale's eyes narrowed. "I control my own actions," he said, voice low, deliberate, "and I decide what ends." Carter didn't move. She could see the tension in both men, the stakes higher than she had ever imagined. Suddenly, the trapdoor swung open. A staircase descended into darkness, and a faint, humming light pulsed from below. The figure gestured toward it. "If you want the truth, it's down there, but once you go, there's no turning back." Hale glanced at Carter. Her nod was silent, but it carried everything: trust, urgency, and the unspoken promise that they were in this together. As they descended, Graves followed reluctantly, rage simmering just below the surface. The staircase narrowed, the air colder, heavier. Each step felt like walking deeper into a storm they couldn't escape. Carter's flashlight illuminated walls covered in symbols and maps, all interconnected, a visual representation of a network spanning continents. Hale's hand brushed over a map, recognizing locations from the files he had stolen. The scale of it hit him, a web of crime, corruption, and manipulation far beyond anything he had imagined. At the bottom, they entered a cavernous room lined with monitors, computers, and documents. The hum of technology and faint clicks from unseen devices filled the air. The figure stepped into the center and pulled a chair forward. On the table lay files, photographs, and a laptop displaying streams of financial transactions, encoded communications, and locations. Every secret Hale had uncovered, every lie Graves had used, was here, consolidated into one place. "You wanted answers," the figure said, voice steady. "Here they are, but now you know why some truths are too dangerous to release." Hale stepped forward, his hand hovering over the files. Every instinct screamed caution, but every fiber of his being demanded he see it, know it, understand it. Carter moved beside him, silently supporting, aware that the next moments could define their lives, or end them. Graves lunged at the table, but the figure moved faster, grabbing a small device and tossing it into a container filled with water. Sparks erupted, electronics sizzling. The room plunged into semi-darkness. The sound of rushing water and crackling wires echoed as Hale, Carter, and the figures shielded themselves. When the lights flickered back, Graves froze. The files he had hoped to manipulate were gone. Every plan he had counted on had vanished. And then Hale noticed something that made his blood run cold, a small photograph pinned to the wall, showing a familiar office building, a familiar desk. Carter stepped closer. The figure followed her gaze. It wasn't just Graves they were fighting. Someone from a department, someone they had trusted implicitly, had been orchestrating events from behind the scenes. Carter's phone vibrated. A message appeared, a single line of text from an unknown number. "The truth isn't here. It's waiting. Find it before they do." Hale glanced at Carter. The figure smiled faintly. Graves' eyes darted around. realizing control had completely slipped from his grasp. Carter knew one thing with absolute certainty. They hadn't uncovered the whole network. They had survived, yes, but what they had seen was only the tip of the iceberg. And then, before anyone could react, the trapdoor above them slammed shut with a deafening thud. The sound echoed through the cavern like a verdict. The figure pressed a button on a small remote, and the monitors flickered once more, revealing locations Hale and Carter hadn't seen before. Cities, buildings, people, connected by lines so intricate it made their head spin. Hale's eyes widened in realization. The network wasn't contained to one city or one country. It was global, and someone, somewhere, was watching everything. Carter swallowed hard, voice barely a whisper. "We've only just begun." The figure turned toward the camera, as if addressing unseen viewers. "Some truths," they said, voice low and chilling, "are too dangerous to release. But now, you know, and there's no turning back." The screen went black. Subscribe now.